Hey guys, welcome to the Danielle K Show. Okay, on this episode, it's going to be a little bit different, maybe a little bit wild. I had the opportunity to go out to the wild jungle out in Temecula. If you guys have not seen it, definitely check it out on Instagram. It is wild. They have a zorse. If you don't know what a zorse is, it's a horse and a zorse that somehow had a baby. So definitely check this episode out. I am with Dan Fleshman and we are on the Money Mondays podcast. So I'm so excited. You might hear a little bit more perspective on me, how I built my business, and some of the changes that I had to make as being an entrepreneur, a mother, and a business owner. So check this episode out now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special edition of the Money Mondays. We are here inside of the RV motorhome parked at the Wild Jungle. We've been having a whirlwind of podcasts recently. We just had an all-women's event last night, 30 amazing female speakers. And timing-wise, it worked out perfectly in between travels that we have an amazing female speaker here. Not just female speaker, an amazing speaker in general who's built businesses for many years. It's been very exciting to have her here. The timing worked out perfect because we got to do an animal tour. She had to feed over 200 animals right outside. And so as you guys know, the way this podcast works, we keep it under 40 minutes because the average workout is 45 minutes. The average commute to work is 45 minutes. So this episode will be around 35 minutes for your listening pleasure. Without further ado, if you could give a quick 2-minute bio so we can get straight to the money.
Perfect. I'm Danielle K. I am the creator of Natural Beaded Rows hair extensions and Isla hand-tied hair. I started, this journey just doing hair and see what was going to happen. And when things were spicy with me and Garrett, I built an empire and a brand, and it's really kind of taken off. And I'm also a mom of 4 beautiful daughters and 2 dogs. And yeah, that's kind of who I am.
I love it. So we cover 3 core topics here: how to make money, how to invest money, how to give it away to charity.
Okay.
So on the make money side, how did you decide to dive into consumer products and hair care products?
Okay, so my journey starts probably 15 years ago. I've been behind the chair as an artist for over 22 years, but about 13 years ago is when the market crashed and everything was going crazy. And the only skill I had in front of me was doing hair. Now, I kind of was looked at hair as being more of like a hobby. And it wasn't until we financially lost everything that I'm like, okay, well, what can I sell? And I had created a very unique way of doing extensions, which I branded Natural Beaded Rows. I just figured out stuff with my hair and other women's hair to make them these beautiful natural looking extensions that didn't damage the hair. So right after we lost everything, I'm like, what can I do? And actually the first thing I launched was an online course. And this was back when not very many people were selling online courses, and not a lot of people were on social media. So it was actually really scary because the big names like Paul Mitchell and Vidal Sassoon were the only ones selling kind of online courses and things like that. So here I am, a broke mom, on the brink of divorce, basically, with my husband, didn't know if we were going to stay married. And I'm like, well, fuck it. I have nothing to lose. Yeah. And so I literally YouTube how to put together home study courses. I bought a camera that I could afford. I had Garrett come over and film me doing this extension technique. And we just put it up there to see what would happen and to see if people would buy it. And that's kind of where it started.
Wow.
But it's crazy. It's been a wild journey.
So as you start to make money, right, you get to that first 10,000, then 20,000, 50,000. What is it that holds a lot of people back from really scaling to 6 figures and hopefully millions of dollars? What's that mental block holding them back?
Honestly, self-doubt, worthiness, if I'm going to fail. But as an entrepreneur, you're always going to fail. It's about rebuilding and recreating. So it's you're testing to figure out what's going to work in order to scale the business. And I can tell you, as a mom, there's so much mom guilt of trying to be a business owner and entrepreneur. You're like, oh, I should just focus on the kids. And I remember so many times letting that consume me, that mom guilt consume me, until I got to this point where I'm like, no, I can be a mom and have success. This is not one or the other. So for me, it was kind of this, as I started to see this online program take off, I thought, wow, as a hairstylist, I was making, an extra, at the time we were broke by the way. So by just making a couple $1,000 a month extra,
sure, I
was like, wow, this is incredible. What else could I do? So then I started launching classes, and I was like, okay, well, if I, charge $3,000 a ticket, and if I have 50 people in a room, I'm just starting to run the numbers in my head. And so all of a sudden I'm this hairstylist that looks at doing hair as just a hobby. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking what else is next? I'm like, is there hair care? Is there hairbrushes? What else can I do? So it was I almost saw the ceiling just explode. And I think a lot of, speaking from a hairdresser or a mom, it's we hold ourselves to such a small ceiling. So when I just started doing the numbers, that's really when I was like, okay, sky's the limit. I want to grow this. Let's see what we can do. And that's really where it started.
So let's say right now there's a girl out there and she's actually a hairstylist and she doesn't know what to charge or how to raise her prices, and she's getting busier and busier. How can a girl that's charging, let's call it $100 a session, start to raise it to 150, 200, 250, 300 and be confident about it?
Yeah, it's crazy because I think that we run on these stories and these limiting beliefs, and hairdressers and artists are very emotional about their decisions. And I am an artist, but I'm also very the numbers don't lie. Yeah. So for me, when I was, behind the chair, the reason I started to have great success is because I looked at the numbers of what was making the most money behind the chair, and that was hair extensions. And so I'm like, okay, so then I have to only market hair extensions. And so in the beginning, you're like, well, if I can't get all these hair extension clients in, I still have to take these lower level services. So I had, the hair extension clients that are paying me $3,000 to $5,000, and then I had the color clients that are paying me $350. And I'm like, okay, well, these are just holding a placeholder till I can fill these with more extension clients.
Right.
So for me, I don't believe in in the hair industry, people will be like, oh, you need to raise 5% every single year. And I'm like, that's stupid. That's what our industry teaches us. So for me, again, it's like, okay, if I'm making the most doing hair extensions, then I have to make my color prices match. So I did it backwards. I did a lot of things backwards in the hair industry. So instead of doing a 5% increase or this or that, I went to my clients one Saturday morning and I was like, hey, I'm doubling my color prices. It's $600. And they were so thrown back, but I wasn't living in a place of feelings. I was living in a place of, these are the facts. And this is what I'm making $1 per hour doing hair extensions. So I have to raise my prices and colors to keep these on the books. And it's crazy, when I did this, a lot of them stayed. And then I was like, oh, I'm actually undercharging and undervaluing myself. Right. So for me, again, it was just kind of like going back to, okay, it's all a story. No matter what industry you're in, it's all a story. And it's a story that you cultivate and you abide by those rules. I always say it doesn't matter what you're doing. If those rules don't make sense, you can create whatever you want. And so that's kind of what I did in the hair industry. And that's really even why my education just started to take off, because not only did I have the skill, but I had this mindset that I believe was different than a lot of artists out there.
So that same girl's listening. She's like, okay, I listened to Danielle. I'm going to raise my price. I'm going to go $250 now. Maybe I'm going to go $300 next. But I want to get more clients.
Yeah.
How do I get more clients?
I believe in personal branding so much. I think in a world where there's so much online, it's like, how do you decide who you trust, especially with hair? There's now, when I started, the hair extensions looked super janky. It was just, they looked bad. And now there's so many beautiful hair extensions. And so I train thousands of artists all the time, and they're like, how do I do this? And I'm like, it starts with you being your authentic self and creating your own personal brand. And they're like, well, I'm not, that's not me. I'm not that person. And so for me, I just tell them, if you can create a personal brand that's authentically you from where you're at today, not to where you think you need to be, because that's when people miss the mark and they look inauthentic online. Yeah. And you're like, you're trying to be this person 10 years from now, and it just kind of looks cheesy and we're not buying it. So I think I say to any hairstylist or any entrepreneur, it's like, start with where you're at and be yourself, because it doesn't matter if your life is a shit show. People are like, my life's a shit show and I have kids and toddlers that are throwing shit everywhere. And so it's just this really connecting ability, and you'll start to draw clients in. And once you do that, you gain their trust and you grow. So does your clientele. So the client you have today is not going to be the same client that you're going to have in 10 years.
All right. She did it. She listened to you. She got on Instagram and Facebook, and she's tweeting and she's TikToking, and she's starting to build her name. Went from 250 to 300 to 350. Right. Now she's making money. Let's go to the investing side. Why should she invest into her mind? Why should she get a mastermind or a coach or read, online courses or watch videos? Why should she get better here in her mind? Well,
entrepreneurs and hairstylists, we work 12 hours a day. It's not uncommon for an artist to wake up, go to work at 9 and work not till 9 p.m. at night, till midnight. Or even some of my artists are like, oh yeah, I was at the salon till 2 a.m. I'm like, well, that is wild. Who takes a midnight appointment? But it really, it causes them to get into this burnout phase. And it's this phase where they can't say no to money at the balance of their life and the loved ones around them. So at that point, it's like, what is the point of making all this money if you're not creating balance in your life? So for me, it's like investing in the right coaches. For me, I love working out. It helps with your mental health. For me, it's setting boundaries. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't matter. If you get to the point of burnout, who cares? But in my experience, when I got to that place is actually when I started making more money, because I created those boundaries inside of my business and I was able to make smarter decisions. So for me, it's like investing in yourself will actually turn a profit inside of your business and inside of your relationships.
Same girl, crushing it. She listened to all your advice.
This girl's a big fan.
Right? She's at $400 a session now. She got 100,000 followers. She's booked up left and right. She doesn't even know how to take on more business. But now she got over 100 grand saved up in her piggy bank. how does she start deciding about investing? Maybe it's real estate, maybe it's cryptocurrency, maybe it's a business, maybe it's more into herself. Like, how does she make that decision to finally like, okay, I got my big girl pants on, I'm going to start investing into things?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was investing in products. So it was like, okay, I'm going to invest in getting a hairline started. I'm going to invest in getting some hairbrushes started and things like that. Because again, I was looking to take the vision even bigger. So I kind of wasn't at a point where I was still investing back into my business. So I think a lot of times entrepreneurs get stuck in a place where they don't want to invest this money back into their business because they can't see the big picture and the big return. So for me, that's kind of like where I'm even still currently in is, you know, just trying to invest back into my business to see what's next. And who I'm a firm believer in too. Like, I think that the more you invest in your business, the more people you can impact and help. And that's extremely important to me as well.
So as you've built this career up and you've gone through ups, downs, coaching, teaching, living and breathing it, raising 4 kids and 2 dogs at the same time, how are you juggling this whole world of family, relationships, situations, live events, masterminds, online courses? Like, you're doing so many different things. How do you manage it all?
I think people have a perception. They think I'm like crazy busy, but I believe that there's like moments of hustle, right? There's moments of hustle that are very much needed. But even in those moments of hustle, when things are busy, one of the things that Garrett and I do is we always do date nights. And with my kids, it's like, if I have these busy seasons of hustle, it's like I'm creating even like date days with my kids. So I think for women, there's like a lot of that like mom guilt that happens, but it's like you have to have such a passion for the bigger mission that you're serving to have those seasons of hustle. And then you can kind of pump the brakes for a minute. I had 2 daughters. I had an 8-year gap. And in that 8-year gap, what people don't know is that's when I was building my brand. And so then I had 2 more kids, but I built my brand in that time where now I can actually spend more time with my other set of girls.
Right.
So, but now I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. I'm getting into that phase again where I'm like, okay, the mom game was really fun. And that was like fun to spend time with my babies. But even now I'm like, okay, what's next?
Yep.
And I think it's for me, even just this year, like, yeah, I built my hair empire and all these things, but now it's like, I still want to work on my personal brand and I still want to expand there because I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm looking for the next bigger version of me.
So what about investing into your relationship? Talk to us about date nights and how do you, there's chaos, right?
Yeah.
Garrett's running a bunch of companies. You're running your own companies. You're both building your personal brands. You're both doing live events. You're both speaking at events. Like you also have both these whirlwinds, like Tasmanian devils of things that are going on in your worlds. How do you keep the calm in the chaos?
It's hard. I mean, Garrett and I will have seasons where we're like very connected and then seasons where I'm like, okay, we're just going to have to really make an effort to, communicate. I think in your relationships, that's the biggest problem is if you don't have communication, you don't get through those storms. And so for me, it's just creating constant connection with my husband. And I can always tell when like we're drifting a little bit. And so it's like, hey, we're going to go to Cabo. Like we need to go, we need to take some time and we need to reconnect. Because for women, what happens is when you're gone from your husband for a while or whatever, sometimes you can build up this resentment. And the guys want to come home and feel connected. And then the woman is kind of standoffish and feels resentful. So one of the things that's really helped me inside of my relationship is noticing those triggers inside of me that I'm not resentful, but I need to reconnect with my husband. And so that's really strengthened our relationship and our marriage. And we do date nights, honestly, like 2-3 times a week.
Oh, great.
Another thing I did when I had my 4th daughter, I was like, I'm doing it different this time. And I was like, I'm going to have a night nanny help with bedtime. Yep. Because that time with us, even if we're so exhausted at the end of the day, just having 10 minutes to be like, how was your day? Or let's have a shot of tequila or whatever it is. Yep. Like just having those daily deposits and moments has really helped strengthen our marriage. So then we can go out into our events and into our business and really give it our all and crush it. Because in a sense, like our marriage is strengthened. And that's, honestly, it's consistency. It's consistency, and people will invest inside of their businesses and then they kind of like stray away from the relationships. But ultimately, if that's going to happen, that's going to cost you later down the road. So it's not easy. It just takes a constant effort and lots of communication. So
this question is going to be for the ladies that are listening. This is the last few years in particular, women started finally making some serious money. Yeah. And there's been a lot of companies that have been making money online, building personal brands and becoming real bosses. Yeah. We've always had it, but now it's like you're happening and you're seeing it at all levels in all countries. Right. For the ladies that are listening, how do they deal with dating a man that makes less money than them?
You demand more out of your man. I mean, honestly, like I told Garrett, and this, I kind of feel cold when I say this, but I was like, I want to be successful because I'm very passionate about what I do, but I also want to be taken care of. And I think that's part of the male and female role that makes me feel very safe. So I kind of encourage him to go out and crush it. And I have flat out told him, I was like, I want you to make 10x what I do. And I want to be very successful. And I don't necessarily, there was a time in our relationship where it was like, it caused a lot of, like almost competition. And I feel like these boss women, it's like, you don't want to create this competition with your man. That's going to polarize or that's not good for the relationship. So for me, I always want to stay in that feminine role, but I will not apologize for wanting to have passion and purpose and success. So I think it's just finding the words to validate your man and appreciate him and also push him at the same time. Again, just speaking from my experience, that's been very healthy for our relationship. I still feel like I can produce, but I also feel, very safe being with him.
So what about the kids? When you have 4 kids and 2 dogs, how do you, when juggling the world, how do you invest time and spend time and focus when you've got so many businesses going on?
It's funny because I was actually raised Mormon in a very traditional family in Utah. And so it was like very much like the mom role, and the mom stays with the kids and does the carpool and this and that. And I kind of got to this place where I was like, that's not me. And that doesn't mean I'm not obsessed and love my kids. And so I had to work on that over the years of retraining how I was raised culturally, and just being like, hey, mommy's in the house working on her business and the nanny's taking care of you. But guess what? The nanny's she's a professional. Like if mommy's trying to juggle a webinar and do all these things while training, I'm going to be yelling at my kids. So I kind of had to let go of that with my kids specifically and know that they're being loved and appreciated. And I'm like, and I even had to come to this place where I'm like, I think they're doing a better job at being their daytime care than I would, because I'm always trying to juggle things. So for me, it's like when I want to hang out with my kids, I'm like, hey, I had a call cancel. My phone goes down. I grab my baby. I'm like, the nanny's still there. And I'm like, I'm going to take the baby and we're going to go have lunch for an hour. And I just try to still as many moments as I can like that. And it's so fun. And my kid, I can tell my second 2 kids how they're raised so differently than my first 2 because of my willingness to let go. And again, I believe it's so important for women, especially female women that have kids, to let go of that guilt and understand it's not this or that. You can build it all. You can have this success and you can still have amazing moments with your children. So I just try to make a daily effort to make deposits in my kids, even if it's in the morning and I'm like literally coming down while the nanny's taking them to school, give them a big hug and a kiss. And, little moments like that, I think are really important. And we take family trips a lot. So or at least we'll try to take 2 or 3 a year, big family trips. And I think that's a great way to reconnect with the whole family. It's kind of a shit show. And I'm always like, why am I here? What are we doing? But it's still fun.
So that girl called, she's back and she's here. She's balling now. Okay. She's making $500,000 a year. She's got her own product line now. She listened to everything you said. She's coaching. She's speaking at events. Yeah. But there's a bunch of haters in her comment section. A lot of people are mad at her, trolls. Yeah. How does she deal with the hate that comes becoming a successful woman?
It's hard. I feel like I've gone through so many, I call them hate waves. It's like every time I would rise in the hair industry, I'm like, oh, another set of haters. And it becomes less paralyzing. And for me, I'm like, do I want to give this my time and my attention, or do I want to focus on my purpose and my mission and what I'm supposed to be doing? So that's one of the things, in the beginning, it was kind of hard for me, but now I would say most of the time, not all of the time, I would be a liar if I was like, I'm going to freaking go off on this bitch. She's crazy. But most of the time I try to delete and block. I'm like, it's just not worth my energy. And I have to understand, if I let them suck my superpowers, if I let them take my power, then I can't put it somewhere else where I need to, whether it's with my husband or my kids or back into my business. So for me, I'm so busy. I literally, people might think I'm really social, but if they follow me on social media, but I'm very into my family and my kids. So for me, I'm like, nope, I don't have time for this. So I would just say, encourage anybody who's out there, be strategic with your battles. Is it worth your time? Maybe you need to put your phone down and walk away. But I just am a big believer in delete and block, and because that will literally suck your energy, and then it's hard to build from that space. I'm actually currently going through it right now. I had to let go of some major pieces in my business, and there was a week that I woke up every single morning nauseous, and I didn't just have mean comments. I had people making videos and tagging me and just talking about I'm just such a horrible person. It wasn't just a random troll. It was past students that felt betrayed when I'm making important decisions in my business that I know I need to make for my family. Yeah. So it goes beyond just, mean comments. As a business owner, you're going to deal with betrayal, and ultimately you have to do what's best for your family and for your business. So I think that's where that stings more than just a mean comment, because you're like, I showed up for you. I created you. I've helped you get to 500,000. Now you're turning your back on me. Mm-hmm. So I just think those are the hard and the sticky times. But like I said, it's almost like you just have to like weigh it out, and like in 3 weeks this is going to fizzle down, and I'm going to rebuild and do what I know I need to do for the mission of the company. Yeah.
So it's really cool, guys. What you just said is block and delete. What happens when you block and delete? That troll literally explodes and vanishes from the planet. Like they're actually dead. They're gone. They turn into ashes. Wherever they are on the planet, they're just gone. And you'll never hear from Johnny 444 ever again.
It's always a random name.
He just disappears.
Yeah.
You'll never see him again. Okay. Last section is on the charity side. Why do you think it's important, and not the money part of it, why do you think it's important to involve kids and family to do things that are philanthropic? Either go to a homeless shelter or go feed or go to senior citizens or a toy drive. Like, why is it important to get the family involved in charity?
I just think it shows not just like, oh, look at how mommy can make the money, but it shows kind of how to give back. And I just think it's such a learning lesson for children to see that, especially kids that are raised in abundance. It's like, oh, it's not just about the stuff. It's also about giving back. It's funny because every time Garrett and I are on a trip or whatever, anything, he always is that person. Doesn't matter if it's somebody on the side of the road. He's like, here. And he's like, I'm doing this because I like the kids to see this piece of me. Yeah. So it's crazy. I think it's always important to give back, whether it's through that or in your community or whatever it is to really, it helps build the children.
So this question I ask on every podcast, I've never gotten the same answer.
Uh-oh.
One day, let's call it 100 years from now, maybe you have bionic arms and you've survived to 157 years old and it's 200 years from now, whatever, and it's time to pass away. What percentage of the hopefully billions of dollars that you've accumulated do you leave to those kids?
At that point, it's like, I feel like it's like, make sure your family's taken care of. And then if you have the abundance, why would you not give it back? It's like, yeah, your legacy's fine, but like, why? You're gone. Why hold on to that? So for me, it's like finding the right places that's going to have the most impact, that's most passionate to you. Because everybody's going to have their area that's like, I want to give here. Yep. I want to give here. And it's like, more importantly, it's like, what is your why behind that? Is it the animals? Is it, what is it? Mm-hmm. And it's where that, I believe, is like where your heart is genuinely called. And you should serve that for the bigger purpose, because that now is part of your legacy. So I'm like one of those people who like, I like things, but I'm not attached to it. I'm not attached to it. I mean, I tell Garrett all the time, I'm like, I'll lose it all if I can just be with you and recreate. Like, I'm not attached to it. I think that you get to that place, I'm sure you have, where you're just like, so what? It's money. Who else can I help? Sure. And it's finding where your lane, where you're passionate, and just really letting your legacy live out through that way.
All right. So where can people find you online, on social? Any in particular companies or websites that are going on in your world right now?
Yeah. So you can go to Danielle K. White. That's my blog. It tells a lot about me. My education site is nbr.education. And that's where, if you're an artist and you want to learn more about Natural Beaded Rows, you can go there. You can check out my hairline, Isla. It's isla.com. And those are my 3 main sites. On Instagram, just go to Danielle K. White. And then you can also go to Natural Beaded Row Hair Extensions.
All right, everybody here. This is one of those podcasts that if you have someone that's an entrepreneur in the women business category, maybe they're in the hair care space or even any type of service like that, forward this type of podcast to them. As you know, I've been running this podcast ad-free for 87 weeks in a row. We've been in top 5 in the business category for 82 of those 87 weeks. Thanks to you guys liking, commenting, sharing, etc. But we self-finance it here. It's $70,000 a month to run this thing, to make it, fighting for our rights to be up there in the top categories and top of the charts for you guys to listen to it ad-free. So if you can, like, comment, subscribe, check out Danielle across social media, and we will see you guys next Monday.
Bye.